Black American men are by far, the most loyal men on the planet. You see, when you measure loyalty, and I'm talking about like ethnic loyalty, if there is such a thing, and actually it's just the only thing that exists in the black community, amongst black American men, I should say. Because it really doesn't exist much amongst black American women, but we'll get to that later. When you take a look at the population breakdown, we have been steady in the low teens, maybe like between 10 to 13%, maybe 9 to 13% of the population. And that's since they've been taking statistics on such a thing. Not very high in the overall scheme of things. Now, if we were a group of people who were just random with it, and what I mean random with it, just, we put our penis out there and made the best vagina win. If we were on that way of thinking, then what would wind up happening is we would have immediately um, just melted into the population. I'm talking instantly. Think about it. Let's just say at our max, we're at 13% of the population, right? And a black man says, okay, I'm going to pick the best woman there is for me. I don't care what her color is. Then there is only a 13% chance that that woman would be a black American woman. However, there is a 87% chance that it would be a non-black American woman. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Which means that the only way that that would happen is if there was a deliberate effort towards getting those two people together. Now, I do understand that it couldn't have happened like that the day after emancipation. I do understand that there were certain things, at least in the South, that just prevented that. Now, it could, it could happen in other areas, and it did happen in other areas. But even in those places, that 13% on both sides made a painstaking effort to find each other more than any other group. So, just the fact that we identify as Black American, or whatever you want to call us, African American or what have you, ADOS, you know, just just the fact that we still identify as that says something. On the other hand, let's just mention a group of immigrants like the Italians or Irish or something like that. It doesn't take very long before they mix into either each other's population, like an Italian person getting with a Spanish person, or excuse me, an Irish person, or they just mix with the larger Anglo-Saxon Protestant population. I mean, maybe they'll do the whole loyalty thing for one generation because they both speak the same language and stuff like that. But after that, it's pretty much a wash. The guys will go for the most appealing women to them, and it doesn't, and nothing else matters. Like when you look at there's an old show. Of course, some of you younger people probably never heard of it, called Happy Days, and there was this super alpha Italian guy on there named Fonzarelli, and he was just hitting at everything. It didn't matter, red hair, blonde hair, etc., etc. It just didn't matter. Nor should it. He wasn't even thinking about ethnic loyalty or anything like that. He was just all out. Same with the character Joey Tribbiani from the show Friends. Like whenever you see an Italian person, and Italians amongst Europeans are really Italian men amongst Europeans are really revered for their sexual prowess or what have you. They're considered more appealing to Protestant women or women of Protestant descent than others. They just don't care. Like, what is it? Like 2, 3, maybe 4% of the female population is Italian? You mean to tell me that they're going to just stick with their own? To ask a man to stick with his own group of women means that you are, especially if he's a minority, means that you are asking that he overlooks the majority population. Black men took this deal for the sake of loyalty. And I want you, black men, to actually try this in your personal lives. You can't do it now, but once COVID is over and things get back to social norms, I want y'all to try this in your personal lives and tell me if this works out for you. Go to a nightclub or something like that, right? And then randomly pick 13% of the females there and say, I'm only going to limit myself to this 13. Even if the remaining 87 is, even if there are members in the remaining 87% who is A, more attractive, and B, more interested in you, and C, both A and B at the same time. It's ridiculous to limit yourself that much, but we have done so for several generations. Several. Each and every single brown and dark skinned person is proof that we have been doing this for so long. Think about other countries that slavery existed. And then look at how beige the population of, let's just say, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Brazil, think about how beige these places are. We've never completely beiged. And that is because both black men, I was going to say both black men and white men, but white men got a thing for Asians. So, you know, black men have remained loyal. We have been sold on this loyalty concept for generations, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Like you've been sold a bill of goods. I mean, it's actually here. Here's the problem. Here's the thing. If somebody were to present this deal, let's just say you're in high school, right? And um, let's just say you have 10 guys and you have 10 girls, and they say we're going to call each other the Thundercats. So you have the female Thundercats and you have the male Thundercats, and the rule is we can only fuck each other. We can only have sex with each other. So the men would probably say no. There's 300 women in this school, and I am not going to limit myself to just 10 of these. Unless these 10 women are exceptional. Or I have a particular reason to be loyal to these 10 women. So he says yes. And those 10 people just, maintains and stays in relationships with each other. You know how high school relationships are, 1 week this person's messing with this person, then this. But in this particular agreement, these 10 people have agreed not to date outside. And that's perfectly fine until, and I'm pausing for effect, but basically what I mean until one of the female 10 gets fat. One of the female 10 has a baby. One of the male 10 has a STD. You see, this is a fine, or actually, let's even negate all of that. because those aren't really problems that high schoolers have. Let's say that in this cohort, 5 of the female members say, you know something? No. I refuse to date any of these 10 members of the male cohort. It would be irresponsible and just plain doing yourself a disservice at that point if you as a man do not expand to the remaining hundreds of girls in that high school. It would be. But black men have done this for generations because we're loyal. Now let's look at the other end of the spectrum. I'm not talking about black women, but even though I'm going to touch on that before I close this video out. Asian men get over here from Asia, the Orient, and not even just the Orient, really most anywhere in Asia. And they'll straight out say, where are the white women at? Where are the white women? They'll say it to their sister, their mother, hell, even, their nieces, and, if they have one, their daughter. I've come to this country, I got an H-1B, I got, special provisions or what have you, but I am here, and this is what I want. Day 1, generation 1. A white man will in return say, where are the Asian women at? I have yellow fever, he would say. I just love this particular group of women. And he could say it about any group. He can freely and comfortably mention his desire for a group of women, not his own. He has no shame and he has no loyalty. If he has dark hair, if he is a brunette, he can say openly, I like blondes. If he's Italian, he can openly say, I like Irish. If he's Irish, he can openly say, I like Spanish. He doesn't feel a need to say, I have this particular loyalty. I must date within my ethnic cohort. See, he's less loyal. You hear that more from black men than any other men. Because as I stated before, black men are the most loyal. Black American men, are the most loyal. If you were to internationally speak to any other group of men, including black men, they would tell you how ridiculously absurd it is for us to be this loyal. It is ridiculously absurd for any group of men to limit his mating pool to 13%. Men have very, very, very shallow mating pools relative to women. For every 100 guys that's willing to sleep with an average woman, there's probably 1 woman who's willing to sleep with an average guy. It pales in comparison. If I was to go out right now with a woman who is just as pretty as I am handsome, and we was to see who would get the most sexual opportunity, I kid you not, she would literally get about 300 times more than me. So why limit yourself in that way? I mean, it's not a huge limit for women, and that's the excuse that swirlers like to make. Expand your options. Really? Really? You have hundreds of people in your inbox. You need to expand it more to thousands? Like, no. No, you're just doing a tit for tat. But I digress on that. And now let's talk about black women. Because I want to make it clear when I say the most loyal. I mean more loyal than any other group of people that have existed on the planet ever, possibly. I mean, outside of being, geographically barred from other groups of people. So let's talk about the women. The thing that makes them loyal is not loyalty itself. It's a limiting factor. Basically, it's pretty much lack of options. Now, before I get the pushback about how many white guys are in, you know, I have so many white guys in my DMs. Yes, sweetie, like every woman has every ethnicity of guys in their DM. Like I say, your mating pool is ridiculously higher than most any man's. So of course you're going to get every ethnicity out there. Let's not be ridiculous. I mean, and that's because you're comparing to either nothing at all or men's, which is just the same as comparing nothing at all. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, yes, there exist guys of all ethnicities out there that's willing to have sex with you, and that's going to always be true. That's the virtue of being a woman. But when you make that comparison to other ethnicities of women, you find that there's a paled comparison. I said pale. And that's what I want people to understand when we talk about actual loyalty versus opportunity. Many black women are loyal because they haven't had the opportunity to be disloyal. I mean, yes, some of them have put on a pretty face about it. Some of them have been looking for non-black guys for quite some time to take them seriously with little to no success. And they call the lack of options loyalty. The lack of quality options loyalty. That's not loyal. That's kind of like me saying I'm not going to sleep with Megan Good because I'm loyal to my girl. That's not the reason. The truth of the matter is, I simply don't have the opportunity to do so. Okay, here's what I mean by this to put it into perspective, even though I don't really need to. Let's say you have a guy who's average. He's average, maybe even below average in some areas, but he's typical in every way. Actually, let's use a real life person. Homer and Marge Simpson. Now, Homer is not recognized as attractive by anybody's measure of attractiveness. He's not considered bright by anybody's definition of that term. He doesn't really have much virtue to him. However, he landed Marge. Now, Homer is faithful to Marge, but is he really faithful, or is he as faithful as his opportunity? Could he reasonably do better? does he have the option to do so? See, that's the kind of loyalty that exists there. And, I can always bring up like the DJ Kid situation, but he's just one person. I mean, there are so many other DJ Kid type of guys like this that just run through sisters. I'm not saying that to say that they're easy. I'm just saying that they to say that there is a attempt that when these guys go on their escapades, never do they ever revert to I can't penetrate the loyalty of them. I just can't get past their loyalty. They don't say that. They don't say loyalty is a major obstacle in obtaining the attention and affection of black women. They never say that, ever. And this isn't just in recent years. And don't get me wrong, other groups of women aren't necessarily loyal either. You have the white women who talk about BBC, and I hate that. Y'all know how I feel about the C word. And you have Asian women, and their lust for, the blue-eyed man, and so on and so forth. There really isn't much loyalty from, as far as ethnic loyalty goes, from women in general. And that is because I have my theory on this, and I'll explain what that is. And this applies to black women as well. It's really not something I care too much about, but it just shows. I mean, it's just one of those things that you just know, and it's like, oh God, this is some woman stuff. Um, while men are more concerned with reproducing themselves through their sons, and I call him mini me, women are more concerned with having beautiful babies. They're more concerned with having certain characteristics in their child. For some women, particularly Asian women, it's blue eyes, and maybe even some black women. Or it's light skinned or what have you. It's a certain texture hair, but they are trying to create exotic babies. A little shallow, but nothing too horribly wrong with that. And even white women, they do. I I could see them doing that too. They would prefer that their daughters didn't have to go to the tanning salon. They would prefer that their daughters didn't have the freckles or and they may want their daughters to have some fuller Angelina Jolie lips or some Jessica Alba lips or something like that. So, they're doing that too. Um, it's kind of like immature, but it's not anything for a guy to lose any sleep over. Anyway, that's just the way things are. Men tend to be more ethnically loyal than women, a little bit. And black men, black American men, are more ethnically loyal than anybody I have ever seen in my travels, in my studies, anywhere I have ever seen, in anywhere ever. Ever. I mean, it's almost like if somebody told me, and I don't really believe in stuff like this, but if somebody told me that, like, a voodoo priestess made it this way, I would, I would believe it because, like, if somebody was to say, hey, guy, guys, how did you get millions of you to reduce your permanent mating option to 13% of the population. How did you do that? Like after the lynchings. And the question mark will always be there. Ethnic loyalty is a real thing amongst black men. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying it's a real thing. I think that it should be recognized and I think that it should be appreciated. I think that if ever a B-dub was to ask, what should I get in exchange for my loyalty? Fellas, tell them that they already got it. You're welcome. It's GameChanger00100. Game over. Peace.